Welcome to RANsquawk's e-morning briefing for Thursday, the 13th of August 2009. Just taking a quick look around the markets now. Just come out towards 9 o'clock. We'll be looking out for the ECB's monthly bulletin and whether that is indeed almost identical to the Trichet conference that we saw yesterday. But first of all, just taking a look at the major events. Obviously, yesterday evening it was the FOMC rate decision. As widely expected, the rate was not really an issue. They kept that on hold in the 0 to 0.25% range. Of note, though, was the fact that they unanimously voted to keep rates and the programme targets unchanged. However, they did say that they'll gradually slow Treasury purchases until October from the previous September, but again still keeping the size at $300 billion worth. They did also say that economic activity was levelling out and inflation would remain subdued for some time, and also the FOMC upgraded the economic outlook slightly relative to their statement following the June meeting. US stocks did finish on Wall Street in the Dow, SPOOs and NASDAQ 100 in positive territory, up over 1%. That did feed through to the Asian bourses, where the Shanghai Composite finished marginally higher. The Nikkei also up around 0.8%, back towards those 10-month highs, so reversing some of the losses from yesterday. In turn with that, some of the key events that we have seen this morning have been on the growth front in Europe. We've seen German GDP and French GDP both surprising to the upside, both coming in at plus 0.3%, so growth now returning to those countries. That's the first period of growth in Germany since early 2008. Expectations were for a further contraction. That did give the markets a lift this morning. Equity markets up around 0.5% in the FTSE CAC and DAX, and that risk appetite did weigh on the fixed income, with the currencies getting a bit of a lift. Euro, dollar and cable just off their highs at the moment after the dollar index spiked lower on that Eurozone data. Dollar index down around 1/3% this morning, and that in turn as well giving commodities a bit of a boost. WTI crude futures up over 50 cents. We're trading back around $71 at the moment. Just in terms of some other news stories to be aware of out of the US, which may get some more attention when the US players come in later. US unemployment levels are likely to stay higher for longer following the country's severe recession and ongoing banking crisis. That was according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. And elsewhere, Realty Track gave an update saying that foreclosure activity jumped 7% in July from June and 32% from a year earlier, as 1 in every 355 households with a loan got a foreclosure filing. In terms of UK news, it's all very much still dominated by the Bank of England's quarterly inflation report. The front page of the FT running the headline that the bank says UK set for a slow recovery with rates to stay low for longer than expected. Also other press articles looking at the jobless data that we saw yesterday, with the Telegraph speculating that the unemployment rate in the UK will top 3 million. And in terms of equities, a couple of negative earnings reports, just two I'm going to pick out: Salzgitter and Aegon in the Euro stocks, who are both trading quite sharply lower this morning. Salzgitter's Q2 net loss came in at 90.9 million euros. Analysts were expecting a profit of 62 million. And for Aegon, they had a Q2 net loss of 161 million euros. Expected was for a loss of just 66 million. The company is also to raise 1 billion euros selling shares back to repay the Dutch state. They have been under pressure since the open. Looking ahead then on the calendar, as mentioned, the ECB publishing the monthly report. That's due in just a few minutes. And then we'll look ahead to the Eurozone GDP number. We'll see whether indeed that shows any improvement at all. Expected on quarter at minus 0.5% today. And then attention to the US data will be the advanced retail sales report for July, alongside further jobless data and continuing claims. And then we'll see business inventories at 3 o'clock. In terms of fixed income, at 10 o'clock in Eurozone, we'll be eyeing 2.5 to 3.5 billion in Italian 2014 BTP taps. We'll have a mini tender from the UK with bids in at 10:30, just a small amount though, £450 million worth. Then we'll have the final of the 3 auctions out of the US today. Will be the 30-year note for $15 billion worth. Usual time, that'll be at 6 o'clock London, so midday in Chicago.